Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to J is for Justice. This is your end of week roundup today. This is the live where we just kind of kick back and we go over the stories of the week. Stories that you may not have heard of and some of them that you may have already heard of. I don't know. Just depends. I want to welcome all the moderators that are here. Thank you for being here this lovely Friday afternoon. Hey, everybody. Oops. Everybody does that. It's okay. Welcome, welcome. Come on in, everybody. Get comfortable. You have the best mods on YouTube. You have the best mods on YouTube. Hello, loungers. Look at all the loungers. We have a sea of green. It's a sea of green in chat, and it's so beautiful and lovely. I love all of you guys. Thanks for being here. And if you're newer here, thank you for coming back. Thank you for revisiting and giving me a chance. So it's wonderful to have all of you guys. We have a packed show today. We have a packed show for you guys. But before we begin, I have to correct myself because I jumped the gun on the Kohberger stuff. So I was correct when I said that Judge did block the cameras for the next hearing. That is true. They are. But that next hearing is about the grand jury testimony. So that's why it's blocked from the public. So there's also a hearing that day, that same day at 1:00, and that one is still open to the public. So when I'm incorrect, I say I'm incorrect. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. I know some people got snarky in the comment section, and that's fine. But I just wanted to, correct myself, and I wanted to show you guys the order. So it says here that the lack of sufficient evidence and prosecutorial misconduct in withholding exculpatory evidence will be heard at 10:30 a.m. Based on the stipulation of the parties, the hearing will be sealed to protect the privacy of the grand jurors. Totally makes sense. And then it says, based on the stipulation of the parties, the hearing will be sealed to protect the privacy of the grand jurors. Defendant's motion to dismiss indictment on grounds of error in grand jury instructions and the alternative remand for preliminary hearing will be heard at 1 p.m. and will be open to the public. So I just wanted to get that out the way because I was being corrected on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And when I have something incorrect, I'm going to come back and I'm going to correct it. And there's nothing wrong with being wrong, you guys. There's nothing wrong with ever being wrong. As long as you learn and you correct your wrong. So with that being said, before we get into all of our stories from today that I'm going to present to you today, I hear we have a birthday in the house. And this girl has been waiting all week for Fry J. And I'm not sure. I think she loves Fry J. But it just so happens that Fry J is her birthday as well. So Teresa, I want to say I'm so glad you found our community. We love having you here. We love your humor. We love you, and we hope that you have the best birthday ever. So Teresa, this one's for you.
Go, shorty. It's your birthday.
So happy birthday from all of us to you, Teresa. I hope you have a great, great day. And if anybody else is sharing a birthday week, month, whatever it is, happy birthday. And cheers to you. Cheers to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Birthdays are so great. They are so great. So from Rue and Bella and Emmy and myself, I hope you have a wonderful day. So let's get into our first story, shall we? Let's do it. And this weekend, we're going to have a call-in because I see a lot of you guys are talking about cameras, whether they should be there, whether they shouldn't. I have my thoughts. I think it's ridiculous that the judge is comparing it to OJ. If you guys haven't seen my quickie video on that, I showed the media at OJ's trial. I showed clips. Every single media person at the trial had a camera. That can be solved with a pool camera. So I have my thoughts. And I would love to hear yours. So I think this weekend we should convene for a live stream to discuss that. Because I want to hear you. We can do some call-ins and see what you guys think. Read your comments, whatnot. So let's get into, let me take a drink. Allison. Yeah, because I know a lot of you guys have strong feelings on this. Allison, I would love for you to call in. Emily, thank you. It's good to have you. Emily is our newest mod. We met her during the Danilo Cavalcante fiasco, and she is sleeping easy. Her family is safe. So, Emily, we're so pleased to have you, and we're so glad we met you as well. Our community is a great community, and it just keeps growing, which is awesome because that means we're just finding more and more people that are like us, which I don't know if that's scary or if it's a good thing. No, I'm just kidding. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. Okay, so while we're on the Kohberger topic, and I think since he hasn't banned cameras altogether, I think that we have a chance of getting the C-SPAN. Oops, I covered my face. We get a chance. We maybe have a chance of a C-SPAN type camera angle, which is fine. Stick it next to the judge and turn it away when the sensitive witnesses testify. It's that simple. Kind of like how we'll make you a tinfoil hat. If you don't have one and you want to join our Patreon, you don't have one, we'll make you one. They'll find a camera angle that works. It's been done. But the OJ thing is stupid. It's just not even a I don't think it's a comparison. But while we're on Kohberger, now I'm not going to play the video because it's News Nation and they sued me, so I'm not allowed to report news from them. However, I can use their title, and it says Brian Kohberger's family hasn't visited him in jail. How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel that Brian Kohberger's family is not visiting with him? They're not getting on the tablet. They're not the tabwit. They're not on the tabwit saying, oh, son, we believe in you. We fight for you. We're on your side. They're not visiting with him. I kind of like it. If I'm being honest. Because I think that Brian Kohberger doesn't deserve the support of his family at this juncture. You know, if they believe he did it, I would think that that would be the only reason that they're not speaking with him. If they believed in his innocence, why wouldn't they be visiting with Brian Kohberger? Thank you so much, Shell, for your super chat. And be safe going and picking up your little guy. It's precious cargo there. So they're not visiting. So it says a lot to me, and it says a lot about the rumors that we've heard about his sister possibly, tipping off authorities. Let's do a little poll really quick. I mean, they haven't been to any hearings in person that we know of. We don't know if they've attended on Zoom, but they're not visiting. So when I hear they're not visiting, I would think it would be via tablet or in person. I mean, they're across the country, so I don't think really anybody expects them to visit in person very often, I think if they visit, they would most likely do it virtually. It really makes me wonder, too. They know Don's full of shit.
Don's full of shit.
So that's the latest with that, is that Brian Kohberger's family has not visited him in jail. So, I don't know. I mean, it's a little headline, but it could mean a lot. And while we're on that topic, we're going to talk about the Goncalves for a minute. Tomorrow night, just as a reminder, 48 Hours is on. It's at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 10 o'clock Central. And I think it streams on like Paramount or CBS. I believe those are the networks that are going to be showing this. So you guys can catch that. Unfortunately, we can't do a watch party because of copyright issues. You can't stream copyrighted material like that. So that's going to be a no-go on the watch party, but we definitely can wait for it to come out. We can clip it and we can discuss it. So that's the good news. We just have to be patient. So ever since Jay is for Justice got sued, she realizes she's got to take a step back and look at the sources of the videos because Nexstar owns 60% of the news networks. And I've got to take a step back and, be careful what I'm streaming before I stream it. Because once you stream it and you get dinged, it's too late. So we will, you guys in the UK, I know you guys can't see it. I'm going to try to put something together for our Patreon members that maybe we can get on a Zoom and I can stream it from my computer and we can do it that way. It would be just very few people. So I'm looking at maybe doing that. But I want you guys in the UK to be able to see it too, because it looks like they're talking about some pretty important stuff that we didn't know. So they say here, as they sat down with 48 Hours, there's evidence to show that Kaylee awakened, and I made a short video on this earlier, a quickie. I had a quickie earlier with this video. And they awakened and tried to get out of that situation, but she was assaulted and stabbed. They said the bed was against the wall. The headboard was touching the wall, and the left side of the bed was touching the wall. And we believe Maddie was on the outside and Kaylee was on the inside. And the way the bed was set up, Kaylee was trapped. Kaylee's mother, Christy, said that she thinks the killer's plan went awry, adding that he intended to kill one and killed four. So I'm assuming, man, that Kaylee or that Maddie was the target of the killer based on this story here. Here we have a layout of the house. And just so you remember, up here, bedroom 3 and 4, you can see Maddie's bed against the wall, but it was more against the wall and there was a gap in between. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to show you the video I put together because I grabbed some screen grabs of some reenactments of the house that people did, which were amazing. The walkthroughs of the house, all that stuff was just so cool. But I want to show you guys. Oh, man, what did I do? Here we go. It's just a quick vid.
Kathy
Mabut. Let me fix the screen for you. I'm going to be adjusting the screen a few times in this live because we've got tons of stuff to go over, which is good. But I'll just need you guys to be a little patient while I get my screens ready. This is live TV, y'all. Live TV. And I want to thank everybody who joined. If you haven't hit that like button, right now is a wonderful time to do that. Let's roll it. Adjusting the screen a few times. Whoops.
with a C, Mabbutt, M-A-B-B-U-T-T, sharp object.
In close proximity to each other, or were they in different rooms?
I don't know that I can discuss that.
Coroner Kathy Mabbutt told them before a gag order, the killer attacked Maddie first, then moved on to Kaylee.
Okay, so let's talk about this question here. I don't know if I can say that. Were they found in close proximity?
I don't know that I can discuss that.
Coroner.
Okay, so knowing that the Goncalveses just said, hey, this is how it happened. Now hearing her saying, I can't discuss that because those are pertinent details, right? That only the killer would know. Hold on, my cord is messed up. Okay, sorry. I rolled right on my old cord. So that tells me that, that's something that only the killer knew. And that was one of those details that L.E. could have been just keeping close to the vest. Because who could have ever guessed that predicament, that scenario?
Kathy Mabbutt told them before a gag order, the killer attacked Maddie first, then moved on to Kaylee.
It's to show that she awakened and tried to get out of that situation.
Last words. There's someone here. 3 short words. A curt, declarative sentence. Yet filled. It can all too easily be imagined with an immensity of apprehension. Perhaps even an intimidation of the horror that was to come. They were the last words that, according to the Moscow police, Dylan Mortensen, one of the 2 surviving roommates, had heard Kaylee Goncalves speak in the helter-skelter moments before her
They
death.
say she cried out.
The way the bed was set up.
All right, so right here you can see the bed against the wall, the headboard against the wall, and then that space next to the bed is where I'm assuming Kaylee was trapped. It makes me want to throw up, honestly. It's so scary. And then you see the desk. Like, we all saw that desk get put into the U-Haul van, and it had blood on the leg of the desk. That was chilling. So to hear this and to see this, and, it's kind of like you'll hear Olivia say in 48 hours. It's like having a puzzle in front of you, and you can see the whole thing put together on the box, but you've got all these pieces that you have to fit. And that's why it looks like a cover up, I think, KDK. I think that's why it looks sus. You have a man who plays games, and then you have people that are trying to protect kids that are witnesses. It's just a whole, I think, hodgepodge of dynamics that from an outside standpoint, it looks like a cover up, or it looks, like something. But there is something going on, because I did watch News Nation's video with Brian Enton with Steve Goncalves, and he talks about financials. He talks in code. I suggest you watch it. I can't play it, but he does talk about some things about the prosecution and the defense having what he said were commonalities. And the only thing I can think of as a commonality between the defense and the prosecution is that they're both paid for by the state, right? They both ultimately have the same boss. So I don't know if that's what Steve's getting at. If you guys want to let me know, replayers comment, let me know. Because I'm baffled, because he knows so much more than we do. Elsie, they may have attended the initial arraignment, but what they're saying is they haven't visited him in jail. So since he's been in Latah County Jail, they're saying they're not visiting him. So it might have been something that happened with that grand jury indictment. I don't know. Or grand jury testimony. I don't know.
Is what
She was trapped.
she was trapped.
So like I said, I think she was trapped over to the right here, on the right side, on our right of the bed. Because they said that Maddie was on the inside, Kaylee was on the outside. And he trapped her. She couldn't get out. And then I think about someone's here. How was someone's here said? Was someone's here said, someone's here, in a panic? I think of Kaylee being trapped, and I think there's no way that no one heard this. I feel like there's no way that these roommates didn't hear, or at least Bethany, or Dylan, rather, didn't hear urgency, panic. But they both agreed to also that there was room for compromise with the cameras. And that's what I want to talk about. So we'll do that in another live. We're going to take your calls. You guys can call me and tell me what you think, and we can discuss it. I feel like it makes Maddie the target. He went in there for Maddie. And Kaylee woke up and couldn't get out. It's so weird, though, because then you think about the phone calls to Jack. Like, what was the phone calls to Jack? Hi, CEO. Good to see you today. You better not block me. Right. So did he run into Ethan and Xana on the way out? Because then now I think back on Steve and I think, remember he said he didn't have to go up those steps. So they said they heard someone's here. Dylan said she heard Kaylee say something to the effect of someone's here. But we don't know the context. We don't know if it was someone's here, like someone's in the house. We just know she said something to the effect of someone's here. We don't know if she said, oh my God, someone's here. Hello, potato. We don't know if she said, hey guys, there's someone here. You know, like she saw headlights. We don't know the context, but it's like these puzzle pieces, right? They're starting to kind of move and fit into one another, but still not fitting all the way, right? But it's absolutely heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. Because Kaylee wasn't supposed to be there, right? I don't know. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. No, they didn't say it was Xana. They said it was Kaylee. They said it was Kaylee that said someone's here. But we all thought, well, it could have been Xana because she was on her phone. Remember? Ann D says, I think Kaylee was in her room, went in to help. But that doesn't fit up with what the Goncalves said. The leaked audio. Yeah, which they said they debunked, but I still think it's real. Right. Cheryl T says, I think it was more of a warning type of an exclamation, but it's just a guess. So nobody really knows, like, somebody's here or somebody's here, you know, like, I don't know, man. It's just weird. And then they heard a male say, don't worry, I'm going to help you. Teresa says, I wonder if he missed seeing the DoorDash and was surprised by Ethan and Xana, and he's so OCD he had to go after Maddie. I don't know. That's what there's just so many still missing pieces. So. Legendary CE No says what the Goncalves has said is in line with my theory on why her injuries were more extreme. She may have said it as a warning, Detra Ed. Yeah. Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's really hard to say. You know, if DM heard it, I mean, she was right down those stairs. So you'd hear a lot in that house, I would think. All right, let's move on to our next topic. And I want to thank you guys again for being here. You guys are amazing, amazing. So right now we're going to move into, oh, I forgot to put my picture up when we talked about Kohberger. So yeah, when we talked about his sister, I was going to put this up. This is actually a profile picture we saw of Brian mixed with his sister that was online somewhere. We think he did it. If you were going to kill somebody, how would you get away with that? So this is called Kohberger Bun. And this is now joining the ranks of the Kohberger hands. So sometimes I might flip up the hands. Sometimes I might flip up the bun. You just don't know what's coming next. Okay, our next story is, yes, Brian Laundrie. Brian Laundrie. Can you believe we have news on Brian Laundrie? Get this. His friend Ben. Remember Brian Laundrie's friend Ben? This secret friend. No one could interview, but I think one outlet interviewed him. Ben. Reminds me of that Michael Jackson song, Ben. But he supposedly had one friend, and his name was Ben. And allegedly, he texted Ben, and this is just now coming out. This is just now being reported that he texted Ben after he got back to Florida. So check this out. When he got back to Florida on September 4th of 2021, without Gabby, but before she was missing, right? Before she was reported missing on September 11th, which just passed. Bless you, Gabby. We'll never forget Gabby. I mean, never. We'll never forget Gabby Petito. But he texted this dude, Ben, on September 4th when he got back within that week before she was reported missing. And he said they had fun travels, but he didn't mention the murder. Trip was good, he said to his pal Ben on September 4th of 2021. Gab and I had fun. Tired now. Gonna sleep for a week, he said. We made a lot of content, Laundrie told Ben, in reference to the couple's YouTube travel channel. It was once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime. I mean, what? This is when Gabby was missing and no one knew. Poor Gabs. He went home bragging that they had a great time. They made so much content. That content that he mocked her for. You know, that content that he mocked Gabby for? Yeah, that content. Makes me so mad. But I don't know who Ben is. I've never seen Ben's face. No idea. I've wondered if they sent him out of the country. His mother. His mother. A lot of you think he's alive. Let's do a poll. Let's see how many of us think that Brian. I thought it was crazy in the beginning, but you know what? I don't think that's so crazy anymore. Do you think Brian Laundrie is living in another country? Because I don't think he'd be here. Or how about we just say is on the run? Or is alive? We'll make it simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. That's my line. So go ahead and get your votes in. I'm curious. Do you think he's alive or do you think he is dead? Because I'm torn on it. They only found a few teeth. They found some crazy notebook that got wet but was not smeared. You know, there's his parents went out there and they were the one to find all his shit. It just does not add up. But all of that could be just a coincidence, too. That could all just be a coincidence. Who knows? Who knows?
Like, what the fuck is this? And everybody's like, what the fuck is this?
And then we hear the burn after reading letter. I think him and his mom had kind of a sick type of relationship. Mama loves him. Mama loves him. It was part of his jaw, I guess. But then people were finding animal bones. They were still finding bones and teeth out there, and the authorities were not worried about collecting them all. It was weird. Everything about it is weird. But Mama loves him. Mama loves him. And I just, after the burn after reading, I just don't think that Roberta would let him leave knowing that he was going to off himself. I just don't. Yeah, the Moab coffee hat. It was like they were really trying to convince us that he was out there. Like, remember they found Gabby's cup? That wasn't faked. Gabby's cup was really out there in the reserve. So it's almost like they threw stuff because they had the van. They had the van. Why would Gabby's cup be randomly out there? Why would his parents know right where to go? I don't know. I just think that it's not that crazy. Because potato, as we know, the only difference between a conspiracy and the truth is what? This is our motto for our new podcast. I love it. I can never remember sayings for nothing, but this one, because it's so true. The only difference between a conspiracy and the truth is time. That is so powerful and so true. So we may not find out the truth, but our kids may. And our kids' kids may. Just like we found out about JFK. My parents passed away. My parents died not knowing the truth about JFK. Isn't that weird? I think that's so weird. When you think about it. All the stuff that we're finding out about, my parents will never know. We may never know a lot of this shit that we question. And then we may be, vindicated when we're gone. We might be vindicated like, oh my gosh, look at this old YouTube channel of this crazy weird girl with dreads talking about Brian Laundrie being alive. And his kid just came out of the woodwork. Like, I don't know. Wouldn't that be nuts? Some conspiracies are not true, though. You're right. But a lot of conspiracies have come true just giving them time. Weird, huh? Weird to think about. All right, let's move on from the laundries.
KB, it's we have to stand down.
Roberta.
Teresa, no, I do not. Nope. I don't think we took that ham foil to the moon and did that. No, I don't. All right. So now I want you guys to put your trigger I said panties. Oh, I just triggered myself. Trigger pants on. Everybody likes to say trigger warning, even though this is true crime. We're going to get into some disturbing stories here. Okay. We have one from Polk County, Florida, near where I live now. Oh, wow. Eagle 8's going over.
These nuts.
Don't run out of fuel, buddy. We have a couple 6 stories. One's from Michigan. One's from Polk County, Florida. So put your trigger pants on, whatever you want to call them. I just triggered myself. I know. Don't you, me. I know. I'm aware. That is like the M word. It's off limits. The P word and the M word.
Roberta.
Gone. You say the P word or you say the M word, you lose a testicle. Trigger panties. Oh my gosh. We are so nuts. We are so nuts here. Okay. So the first one is going to be a former Michigan House Speaker. His name's Rick Johnson. And what got my attention with this was the grossness. Let's get Laundrie off the screen here. The grossness of this story. So, former Michigan House Speaker Rick Johnson received thousands of dollars worth of commercial sex. I mean, what is going on here? What is your trigger suit? Yes.
Bueller.
These nuts.
Bueller.
So here we have former Michigan House Speaker Rick Johnson received thousands of dollars worth of commercial sex with a sex worker as bribes during his time as chair of the now defunct Michigan Medical Marijuana Licensing Board, according to a federal court filing published yesterday. Johnson and 3 other individuals have been charged and pleaded guilty to federal corruption charges in the bribery scheme. The first individual to plead guilty, John Delally, received a 28-month prison sentence. Thursday, during a hearing in Grand Rapids. During the hearing, his attorney, Raymond Kazar, said Delally had no involvement with the sex worker being provided to Johnson. This is Johnson on the right. What is commercial sex? I don't know. That's what caught my attention. Right? Why does his last name have to be Johnson? Guys, I don't know. It's so disturbing. It's so disturbing. We're going to learn more. According to a sentencing memo filed by federal prosecutors in Johnson's case, Johnson demanded and received at least $110,200 in bribes while he was MMLB chair. Why do they got to bring the medical marijuana into it? Why? It's already been hard enough for the medical marijuana activists, proponents, whatever you call them, to get medical marijuana going in the state of Michigan. And this motherfucker is over here bribing with what? I mean, what? Listen to this. Including cash payments, a $20,000 loan with no repayment terms or demand, flights on private aircraft, and thousands of dollars worth of commercial sex with a woman in the adult entertainment industry. He was paying a porn star for sex. In return, Johnson provided an unfair advantage to bribe payers in the form of his favorable vote on license applications, his help and support throughout the licensing process, and confidential information inside pertaining to the board's work and other applicants. He bribed people to get medical marijuana passed. And look at my ad. Thank you, Carlin. Thank you, Sushi. Commercial sex means any form of commercial sexual activity, such as sexually explicit performances, prostitution, participation in the production of pornography, performance in a strip club, or exotic dancing. In the memo, prosecutors write that Johnson, oh, and look at my ankles. Remember I told you guys my ankles were swelling? This is proof. You guys see it unfold. Remember I said, because I was sitting for so long when we were live, that my ankles were going to swell? Look at that. I hate technology. Leave me alone. What do I have to do to stop this? I feel so invaded. Anyways, they write that he should face at least 71 months in prison and pay back a fine of $110,200, equal to the amount of the bribes. He faces a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison and up to a $250,000 fine. Here, Eagle 8, they're coming. Could you hear that?
KB, it's we have to stand down.
What the are you doing here?
At one point during Delally's sentencing, Kazar told U.S. District Judge Jane Beckering that Delally was not involved with providing a sex worker for Johnson, Beckering appeared to be aware of the sex worker's involvement. Following the hearing, Kazar told reporters that he wanted to make it clear that Mr. Delali had nothing to do with having a sex worker involved with Mr. Johnson. There were some rumblings that Mr. Johnson not only accepted payments for bribes, but there are some rumblings and there's some indication from the government that there was also a sex worker involved. And my position today, and I made it clear, was that Mr. Delali was not involved in that whatsoever, and that the court accepted that, and the government also. Bunch of bullshit. According to the sentencing memo filed Thursday, Johnson, Delali, and lobbyists Brian Pierce and Vincent Brown, who have also pleaded guilty in the bribery scheme, had a system to mask the bribes. Johnson carried 2 cell phones to throw off investigators and was referred to as Batman. Weird. By a bat emoji, or as our friend when discussing bribe payments. In one exchange detailed by prosecutors, Brown told Pierce, "That's why Happy Batman is a great Batman." Something prosecutors wrote was an indication of the influence the former speaker held over the lobbyists. The manner in which the payments were moved through LLCs and disguised demonstrate that everyone, including Johnson, knew that what they were doing was unlawful. Finally, Johnson's repeated use of a prostitute who was paid to have sex with him on multiple occasions by businessmen seeking his help and licenses from the state is abhorrent behavior. In their totality, Johnson's criminal acts and his attempt to evade law enforcement are utterly disgraceful and worthy of punishment well above the low end of the advisory guideline range for a bribery offense. The memo also states that Pierce paid at least $2,000 to the woman who had sex with Johnson. Exchanging money for sexual acts or prostitution is illegal in Michigan. Pierce has not been charged with any prostitution-related offenses. As part of his plea agreement, prosecutors agreed not to bring additional charges stemming from the bribery conspiracy, as long as Pierce disclosed them to investigators. Johnson pleaded guilty in April and agreed to cooperate fully with federal investigators as part of his plea agreement. His sentencing is scheduled for September 28th in front of Beckering. Delali has said as part of the scheme, he provided $4,000 a month in payments to Johnson's wife, Janice, under the guise of consulting fees. Janice Johnson has not been charged in the case as part of her husband's plea agreement. The wife was involved?
What?
U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Michigan, Mark Totten, previously said the investigation into the corruption scheme remained open and additional charges are possible. Wow. That is sick. Diana coming in with rules. Batman. And it gave me the creeps because remember the Fox News photographer, he got the email and it said better watch your back or behind you. That's what it was. It was behind you. Yes, I'm unveiling some Grady Judd, guys. Don't get too excited, ladies. Don't get too excited. But I am unveiling a Grady Judd. This is one of our stories today. It's brand new. Brand new. And you're going to need to keep your trigger pants on. Right, exactly, Carlin. Like, it's like they do these plea deals and then it's like swoop, swept under the rug. It's just like drug deals. You know, making deals with the devil, so to speak. Yeah. Some sick, sick people in this world. So you guys ready for some Grady Judd? All right, so I'm going to preface today's story by saying you need your trigger pants. In HIV, I'm just going to say it because there's no way to skirt around it. This is really disturbing. An HIV positive high school track coach is charged with sexual battery on a student. You heard me. And I'm sure we're going to hear lots of Grady Juddyisms. So let's get into it.
On an investigation that we have been working, and we have been working this on a track coach who was a track coach for Lakeland High School. And this person is no stranger to us. We first interacted with him in 2011, and I'll tell you all about that in just a moment. But I want to show you the track coach. This is Jarvis Young. He's 40 years of age. That's right. A 16-year-old victim told his mother that the coach touched me inappropriately on this Saturday. The mother said, well, you need to report it just as soon as you get to school, and that's what our victim did. He went to our deputy, who's the school resource deputy at Lakeland High School, and he said, hey, I've been sexually battered. I've been touched inappropriately by the track coach. Of course, we immediately called our detectives, and we determined he was not only touched, that he was actually sexually battered, in that the track coach committed oral sex on him.
Oh, my God.
That set of circumstances began on Saturday, August the 26th. He went to school Monday morning, and which would have been the 28th, and our investigation began. During the investigation, surprisingly enough, the track coach fled the state of Florida and was gone for a period of time. However, as we went through the investigation, we learned this. We learned that Jarvis made admissions to us. He, by his statements, admitted that he was HIV positive. Did you hear what I said? I didn't stutter. He tried to and briefly had sex with a child knowing he was HIV positive. So it all occurred when our victim, who was working out over the summer because he's an athlete, was sore. And he wanted to become more competitive. So he went to his coach and said, can you help me with my strength training and my speed? I need to get stronger and I need to get faster. And Coach Jarvis Young said, sure, I can. So he went by the victim's house on the 26th and picked him up and took him to lunch. They went to a Mexican restaurant. They talked at the Mexican restaurant for a while, and he said, well, I've got some weight equipment. Come with me. We'll pick the weight equipment up. We'll take it to your house. And they did that. And they started putting it together, and there were some parts missing, so they had to make a side trip down to, I believe it was Home Depot or hardware store. And then Jarvis Young, the coach, said, I need to put up some equipment at the school. How about going to the school with me? Once again, this is on Saturday. So the kid goes with Jarvis to the school, and Jarvis had told him at lunch that he was a trained massage therapist. Now, we don't see any evidence that he's certified, but he told the kid that. Now, understand, he told the kid, I'm a trained massage therapist. He buys him lunch, and he also gives him equipment. We call that grooming. So they go to the school, and they start putting up whatever sports equipment they were dealing with. When the coach, Jarvis Young, said, hey, I'll massage those hamstrings that are causing you problems. So Jarvis begins to massage the hamstrings and tells the young man, flip over.
Oh, my God.
And he's continuing to massage and stretch his legs. And then all of a sudden, he grabs our victim and briefly sexually batters him before the victim jumps up and says, take me home.
Oh,
He
my
drove him home.
God.
And it was reported to us. So if you can't believe that's horrific enough, we arrested once again, Jarvis Young, in 2011 for conspiracy to commit sexual
How did he
battery
get
on a
hired?
juvenile when he and another adult took two juveniles to a motel to have sex.
What?
Well, we ended up making an arrest on that. However, the charges were dropped because it wasn't reported to us until the statute of limitations,
Oh my
as
God.
they were at that time, had expired.
Here we go with the statute of limitations. You guys, I have to interject here because this rings true with the Ruby Frankie case. Let me come back. Let me turn my camera on. So what we had, oh my gosh. So what we had there was we have an interview with a guy who got therapy from Jody Hildebrand. Well, he told his story about being molested in Utah when he was a kid. And he didn't report it right away. But the statute of limitations in Utah at the time was 5 years for a child. For a sexual assault on a child, for an essay on a child, it had to be reported in 5 years in Utah. For an adult being raped, 50 years. You tell me that wasn't done in Utah at some point in time on purpose. Now, I don't know, but the guy that Mormon Stories podcast interviewed, his father, when he found out about his abuse, changed the law. So now the statute of limitations in Utah is longer, but it was 5. It used to be 5 years. So I don't know what it was in Polk County. Obviously, it's changed here too. But do you see that? It's a pattern. Adam, thank you, Adam. I couldn't think of his name. To think that it was lower in Polk County, Florida as well. It's almost like this was done on purpose so that they could get away with it. Because if you essay a 5-year-old and they don't say anything and it's not reported by the time they're 10 years old, that means it went out the window. They could not be criminally charged. So that's what Grady Judd is saying. Back in 2011, the statute of limitations was beyond, so the charges on this sick fuck were dropped. And that's why he had the opportunity to do what he did now and work at a school.
So this guy got away with sexual battery. It's also reported to us that he used to be an athlete at the school and was known to hang out prior to being hired by the school to hang out there as well. And he hung out around the sports program.
And no one saw red flags.
He's a classic predator, child predator. He's a classic pedophile. In 2017, he supposedly had a young man in the car with him and grabbed him on the leg inappropriately, but just grabbed him by the leg. That turned out to be a battery. But during the course of the investigation, it was reported to the police department. During the course of the investigation, the family became uncooperative, so the police were therefore unable to bring criminal charges. During the course of the investigation, we picked rumors up, and that's why I'm classifying them today clearly as rumors, because we've not run this information to ground and don't have it solid in writing yet. But the rumors were around Coach Jarvis Young. Hey, he'll give you stuff, but don't let him touch you. Did you hear that? The kids that knew him from sports said he'll give you stuff, but don't let him touch you. That tells us one thing clearly. He has battered, possibly sexually battered, inappropriately touched other kids for that rumor to spread among them.
He was known for it.
We strongly believe he has inappropriately touched, battered, or possibly had sex with students in the past based upon the rumors that swirl around him, and they continue to swirl upon his arrest. It's imperative that if your child has been battered, inappropriately touched, whether it's a misdemeanor or not, that you report that to us as soon as possible. It's important to understand that our school officials, Mr. Hyde, our superintendent, who is a remarkable superintendent and does a really great job, is angry, to say the least. He is preparing or has prepared a statement that he's going to release to the media. However, he's doing a deep dive into all of this, saying, why was this guy around the students? And what was the history? And what did we know? And when did we know it? And he's taking some proactive measures now that it's come to his attention.
Okay, so let me just explain. This isn't about failing to register as an offender. This is about the statute of limitations on a victim being able to come forward after something's happened to them. So, for example, if a 5-year-old got SA'd, if the statute of limitations 5 years, after 5 years, when that child's 10 years old, they can't press charges on that person if they said it happened when they were 5.
Those that may want to be critical of the superintendent need to understand he's got 13,000 people that work for him. And if somebody hears something or sees something and they don't tell him, they don't say something to the appropriate people, then it's very difficult to react.
This guy was known by the kids for
But do we
this.
believe there were people that knew that he had inappropriate contact with children? You betcha. And we need people that saw something or heard something to say something. This investigation goes on. He got away with this before and he wasn't smart enough to quit.
They can't
Because he's addicted to having sex or trying to have sex with teenage boys. He's already HIV positive. We suspected him of being HIV positive in 2011, but he's admitted to us that he was, and we're taking him at his word. Okay, are there any other questions before I wrap up?
Sure. I know you kind of laid out the situation before and how the charges were dropped, but how concerning is it to you that he did, it appears, slip through the cracks and be able to be a high school coach?
Well, once again, it is disturbing. It is remarkably disturbing. You know, we have a rule of law and we have to respect that. But there was an arrest record on him. So before he was allowed to be a paid coach, he was not a school teacher. He was just a paid coach. That's all he did. Before he was allowed to do that, what kind of background did they complete at the school? That's a lot. That is a lot of questions, and the questions that the superintendent has right now. And the superintendent's going to do a deep dive and get answers to all of that. But the reality is, when they hired him as a track coach, he had a 2011 arrest history, even though he was found not guilty, or they had to drop the charges because of the statute of limitations. So there was a proclivity for him to do things that were inappropriate. And for those of us who deal with these issues, we know that the people who engage or try to engage in this kind of behavior, statistics and research shows us, don't change what they want to do.
They don't get better.
So someone should have done a background, an appropriate background, and said, hey, dude, we know that you weren't convicted of anything. We know you were arrested for it, but we just need to move on.
The way you described it made me think of the doctor arrested that was associated with U.S.A. women's gymnastics. And it's kind of that trust between athlete and doctor, athlete and coach. What do you think this portrayal of trust is?
Well, it's evident to me. He's an athlete. He wants to get better. He goes to his coach. And he says, hey, coach, I want to get stronger. I want to get faster. His coach takes him to lunch, buys him lunch, grooms him, gives him weight equipment, takes it home, helps him put it together, and then says, oh, by the way, I need some help down at the school preparing some sports equipment. So he goes to the school with him on a Saturday where he's alone. He's already groomed him at lunch after our victim says, man, I'm sore from all these workouts. Hey, I'm a massage therapist. You know, I'm angry. The community's angry. And every mama and daddy are angry. Make no mistake about it. This guy here is evil that will groom a 16-year-old kid, take advantage of that position of trust in order to sexually batter him. And when he made that abrupt action, the kid jumped up and said, take me home. But there are thousands upon thousands of school teachers in this Polk County school system that work hard every day. And they do what's right. And they make children better. And they help them. This guy, as a coach, has embarrassed the school system, but make no mistake about it, he is the rare exception to the rule. Our goal, though, is to appropriately take him before court and let the jury decide whether or not he needs to spend a very long time in prison, and they'll make the final determination. Yes, sir.
Going off of that story, a lot of survivors might be afraid to come forward. Maybe they are fear that they won't be believed. You mentioned there might be more students who might be a victim of this. Do you have a message for them if they're just afraid to come forward?
Yeah, thank you very much. My message to the students is we're going to believe you, and we're going to protect you, and we're going to make sure you have any counseling or infrastructure for support that you need. But you can't allow this bad man to hurt anybody else. Emotionally, physically, you've got to help us. We need to know everybody that he has attacked or tried to attack. And predators, sexual predators, and pedophiles don't attack with violence. They attack with Mexican lunches and free exercise equipment and being your friend and wanting to make you more competitive in the world. This guy took advantage of a child. We know he took advantage of other children, but because of our law, he escaped that one. But we know there are other victims out there. We know there's one victim of a battery that before the police could finish the investigation, the family said, we're over this. He just grabbed him by the leg. Enough of that. That's not acceptable. We want to, as I say with my vernacular, we want to put him under the jail for a very long time. And we believe, anecdotally, from experience in the past, there are other people out there that can help us ensure that he never can be around children again, that he's locked up in the prison system where he needs to be. Okay?
How long is that statute of limitations, and how did that play a role in this particular
Here we go.
case?
The statute of limitations at that time, I believe, were 4 years for that particular charge. It varies. Since then, the legislature has changed the statute of limitations, and I believe, depending on the sexual event, that there is no statute of limitations any longer. I haven't had the chance to research that before this press conference, but we've always had no statute of limitation for capital sexual battery on a child under 12. There was a statute of limitations at this time in 2011.
Isn't that wild? We went from, in 2011, having a 4-year statute of limitation for a child under 16 in 2011. Wow. I mean, I'm stunned. How is that protecting the children? That wasn't that long ago, you know? So we go from a 4-year statute of limitation to none. That's how extreme. That's very extreme. I'm convinced, man, that we have had a lot of people running, leaders across the country that are pedophiles. And I have a weird thought on this. I have a weird thought that I think the older generation that we're seeing lived in a time where things weren't talked about. Why does it seem like that age group is so, like, I know it happens with all age groups, but it seems like that older age group, it just seems like all the leaders, they've all done, you look back and it's nuts, man. It's nuts. We protect children more now, I think, than we ever have, Cheryl. We don't protect children anymore. I think we protect them and we're more aware now as far as the public and society goes. Back in that time, no one talked about it. These boys were being SA'd at freaking Boy Scout camp and couldn't tell anybody. And if they did, they were called names. They were beat up. It's just sick.
But since then, the legislature has changed that to where I believe there's no statute of limitations on.
So legislature, that's where you need to look. That's who thought it was good to have a 4-year statute of limitations. Who else would make it 4 years but a pedo? It defies logic. You're talking if a 4-year-old is SA'd, they only have until they're 8 to sort through it and tell somebody and bring someone to criminal charges? Stunned.
Sexual battery or sexual battery of a child now. I'll have to research that. But I know one thing for sure. August 26th of this year is clearly within the law. And he's going to get him a whole bunch of the courtroom. Yes, sir.
Sheriff, sir, any further charges pending or this case, or maybe some tips you've already gotten?
Well, the investigation's still underway.
I agree,
We
Kendi.
are looking for other victims at this time. Okay?
And we get men like Grady, few and far between. We don't see this every day. We don't see men with integrity and values and morals who will go against the grain, who don't give a shit. This is why Grady Judd, this is why I have this soundbite from him.
Somebody in Washington with more than 5 brain cells needs to listen to this. Well, maybe asking them to have 5 brain cells too many. Let's shoot for 3 brain cells.
Says it all. In Washington. That's not a name. That's just straight in Washington. So sad. So scary for this young man. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't even have words for that. If that happened to my son, I can't even take my brain there to put myself in that situation. I can't even imagine. Can't even imagine. Whew. So that was a lot to unpack, right? And I want to thank you guys for joining today. I have one last story for you guys. This is a fun one. We always end it on a lighthearted note. So I don't know if you guys have seen, but there's been a hunt for Nessie. Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. Well, the Daily Mail thinks that they have sighted Nessie. And I'm going to tell you about it. Grady for president? I know, I agree. He's young still to be president. So, all right, let's talk about Nessie. All you overseers, tell me. Let's do a poll. This is a weird one. It's kind of like Sasquatch. But let's do a poll. Do you believe in the Loch Ness Monster? I've been fascinated by this since I was a kid. You know, you hear things like this when you're a child and you just don't forget them. So huge ripples were spotted by Siobhan Janaway, which she believes may have been from the Loch Ness Monster. This is an undated file photo showing the shadowy shape that some people claim is the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland. This picture was later debunked as a hoax. This looks like, wait, hold on, I gotta make it bigger. Okay, hang on. It looks like someone taking their arm and doing like a sock puppet. What's up, headphones? It looks like a speedboat. Okay, so this is a separate incident of shadowy figure on Loch Ness. Looks like somebody in a inner tube. And then they had the biggest search for the Loch Ness Monster in 50 years just last week. Take a look.
My name is Bree Bagwell.
My name is Chris.
Oh, after this 30-second advert. Damn, Daily Mail. 30 seconds? Do I give you all 30-second ads? Because I don't know what Facebook or YouTube pushes out, or Facebook for that matter. If I do, I apologize. But I guess we got to pay the bills somehow, right? I got you, Daily Mail. I got you. And here we go.
You do that wave again? You do the wave again? Oh, the wave again.
This is them searching for Nessie.
Got it. Thank you.
It's a duck interview.
And it was created by a fault as well. So we've got tectonic fault with this here, faults in the crust of the earth. And it's the fault that became active about 380 million years ago on a Thursday, as Dick used to say.
They're serious. They're serious. They're serious business, guys. So let's see.
You've got a great swing. Seeing the world in a new light. So focused.
Let me come back and see the results of our poll. You have a Nessie soup spoon? That is so funny. Sometimes the ads can be a half hour. Okay, so the Loch Ness Monster. We have 53% of you say yes, you believe in Nessie, and 46% of you say no. And the funny thing about the Nessie photos is that we never know if they're like like if they're close up. Ooh, look, I have a little Band-Aid on my head. No, but we never know if they're close up or if they are, far away. Like that could be a person in an inner tube or whatnot. Oh, that's so sweet, Cheryl. It could be a goldfish. It could be somebody on a flamingo inner tube. You never know. You never know. It could be our bouncing dinosaur. Looking for the Loch Ness. They were serious. Trust the Gorton's fishermen, guys. All right, that wraps up our Friday. I want to say happiest of birthdays again to Miss Teresa. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope that I was able to make your day a little bit brighter. Oh, Yvonne, you were gifted a membership. That's awesome. Let's see what else we had go on today. We had Shell throwing out a super chat. And that looks to be it. Slow day on Friday, but hey, you guys, thank you for the super thanks to Allison. Allison utilizes the super thanks when she replays. That's so awesome and so nice. And let's roll out our credits and dance it out. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you this weekend. We're going to take calls. I'll get an event up very soon. Figure out what the schedule is going to be, and we'll take your calls on cameras in the courtroom. I'll see you guys later. Stay safe. Maisie, go find Nessie. Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists for more true crime content. And if that's not enough, you can join our Patreon. Don't have a tinfoil hat? It's okay. We'll make you one. It's that easy. See you guys in the next video.
See you later. Bye.
Because you're a liar.
I don't give a damn. I don't really
Wake up.
care about you and your problems.
Meow.
You talk with too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems.
John Wayne Bobbitt's penis.
In the name of Jesus, Father God, Lord.
So there's a lot of butt joints that we have to cover, and I'm like, Dudley, let's do butt joints together because I don't want to have to do them all by myself.
You're being a Karen.
Sorry.
Pull it down below your chin and aim it at your chin.
I don't want Jennifer or two Jennifers.
Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.